want to get some fan art out of the way before this last segment, and then we'll move on to everything. Just one right now. This one's from Schlatten Light. Says, everyone likes pie or cake, drawn to pass the time in communication networks classes. Thank you, Shatten. I appreciate it. Just a slime Suris eating the cake is wonderful and looks adorable. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. That all said, let's move right along into what I want to actually talk about. And honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a piggybacking off of something that actual Jake said in a Twitter post recently. So this is not fully my own position, but it is a position that I very much agree with. So I'm going to talk about it as if it is my own position specifically. But Jake basically pointed out on Twitter that Doomer posting as a leftist doesn't really do a whole lot of good. Oftentimes, the entire point is to get us into Doomer mode. Well, now, what does that mean? So if you're very nihilistic, if you're very, very like deterministic about how things are going to be, it's very easy to get into Doomer mode. And Doomer mode is quite simply that feeling that nothing really matters and everything is going to go the wrong way. So why fight anyway? I tend to fight this by instead looking at this as a long defeat. Ultimately, we're all going to die in the heat death of the universe. That doesn't mean anything in the now, though. Every single battle that you win has merit, even if it looks like the war is not going to be in your favor. It is good to stand on your principles and fight for what's right. In a lot of cases, that just looks like going out and voting for the person who is going to do the right job, as opposed to the person who wants to take away your human rights. Sometimes doing what's right is talking to your parents about how their political decisions have affected you. Sometimes doing what's right is pointing out to your friend, hey, when you say stuff like insert bigoted thing here, it really makes me uncomfortable, and I'd like to talk to you about why, if you're up for that conversation. If not, I'm perfectly fine with, you just not saying any of that kind of stuff around me anymore, but I do want to articulate why I feel the way that I do. When you go Doomer mode, you forget to do any of that. Why talk to your parents about stuff? They're just going to be bigoted anyway. They're old. Why talk to your friend about stuff? He's just trying to have a good time. Why would you go and vote? The worst person's going to get in anyway, and both sides are the same anyways. And there's two factions of people. There's two factions of people who always want you to be in Doomer mode as a lefty person on the internet. One of those factions is obviously Republicans, right? Anybody from the alt-right, anybody who's a Republican who is in a position of power, they want you to feel like the election doesn't matter. Any election doesn't matter. It's a good idea to just skip it out. You have work to do anyway. You've got other things that are important. They want you to feel like that energy should be spent elsewhere. But there's another section of people, and I think they're a little more insidious about it. Anti-electorate, left-wing people. Now, these can take the form of tankies or really somebody who's otherwise well-principled but also just fell into doomerism themselves. These people are the ones that are much harder to contend with for me. Because while Doomer mode is easy to stave off when Republicans are trying to force it through, right? Putting policy after policy after policy to exhaust us. That's part of the strategy, right? Put out so many policies that it exhausts us to cover it. It exhausts us to think about it. It exhausts us to do anything about it, right? That's one of the strategies. That's one of the things that they want to do. It's a shotgun approach. Not every pellet has to stick, but enough of them will kill you. But when you're looking at somebody who's left-wing, this is now somebody who agrees with you. So for the right-wing people, you can just do your electorate stuff, go canvass, go phone bank, go talk to your friends and family, go get worker co-ops supported, go get unions supported. That's all stuff you're able to do far more easily when the right is trying to do it, because we can be fueled by spite. Spite is such a good way to fight against that. But unfortunately, spite only goes so far when it feels like it's coming from your side. If it is coming from your own side instead, then it's easier to agree with your friends who are doing it. Somebody goes, both sides are the same anyway. Why, we should just vote third party, something that mathematically doesn't work out in the States anyways. You get caught up in fighting with them, and that gets more exhausting too. And it chips at your spoons, it chips at your ability to think about politics. Eventually, you just don't want to think about politics because it doesn't matter to you anymore because it is so exhausting. The problem is, once you stop caring about politics, politics never stops caring about you. Politics is directly involved in how much you get taxed at the end of the day. Politics is directly involved with whether or not you're going to get Social Security benefits at the end of the day. Politics is directly involved with whether or not you're going to get access to HRT. Politics is directly involved with whether or not you're going to be able to keep your job, or whether or not your job is going to be able to lower your hours, or is not going to be able to increase your pay. Politics and policy are directly involved in all of those things. Every aspect of your life is affected by what somebody in a chair who will never know who you are is doing. And if they are actively involving their lives in ours all the goddamn time, then why would we not involve our lives in theirs? Why would we not try to disrupt the current political system by getting far more progressive candidates in at a local level where they have a higher chance of getting in and can cause the Overton window to shift? Why would we not support unions far more than we currently do to disrupt the mega corporations that have so much political sway in the first fucking place? Why would we not spend our times shouting out worker co-ops that do such a damn good job at keeping people fed within their own company while not compromising on values of democracy in the workplace? Why would we not push for all of these things? Well, quite simply, doomer mode. If you feel like none of this matters, it's very easy to only focus on just voting and not get involved in anything else. But voting is the bare minimum. It's always been the bare minimum. If a bill comes out and you know that it's bad and wrong, you can get involved in a local org, and you can go down to your capital and you can protest that bill. Not sit at the sidelines waving signs wondering, am I being effective? No, you can go and talk to your politicians directly. If a progressive politician is trying to push for relevancy within your district, oftentimes, they will have public call-outs where they will let people in to talk to said politician, and you can get involved with them. You can talk with them and say, hey, these are my values. Do you represent them? And if you do, what can I do to help? What can I do to help you gain a foothold because you represent me more? Again, these people will always be involving themselves in your life. They will always be involving themselves in what you are doing, you are thinking, you are buying, you are being employed at, you are allowed to say. They will always have an effect on them. So it would be a very good idea for you to try to have an effect on them, since they are having such an effect on you. It's very easy to get caught in the loop of just complaining about things and not doing anything. Very easy to do that. Because when we do that, it lets us justify inaction. Doesn't matter anyway. My candidate didn't get elected today. It doesn't matter anyway. My boss is just going to cut my pay if I try to speak up. It doesn't matter anyway. I shouldn't do X, Y, or Z because none of it really matters. But if enough of us say that it matters, then all of a sudden it kind of manifests in reality and does matter. If enough of us are pressuring politicians, we can get them to not vote on bills that would otherwise hurt us. That's what we did at the Georgia Capitol, and it fucking worked. If enough of us say that we want to have a progressive in office, we can keep people in office who advocate for us better. You're never going to have the perfect politician. That's not the point. The point is to have the one that best represents you. And if one doesn't best represent you, you go for the one that most closely represents you, and you try again later. You don't go, well, I don't have the right person right now, so I guess I'm going to doomer mode, and I'm not going to go to the polls, and I'm not going to talk to anybody about this person. No, that doesn't fucking work. Because the more you do that, the more that Overton window shifts to the right. And there are two people who love that. Anti-electorate leftists love it, and right-wing nutjobs love it. The right-wingers love it because their policies get enacted more often. They adore your inaction because their policies get a better chance to shine. And for the anti-electorate left, they love it because, well, quite frankly, many of them have this fantasy in their mind of a revolution happening. And while a revolution may or may not be what this country absolutely needs, I don't know, I'm no expert there, I can tell you that a revolution would necessitate a huge loss of life. And every one of those people who's telling you that, hey, no, don't talk about voting, that's bad, we need to talk about direct action. No, all of it is important. Direct action, like getting worker co-ops funded and getting them started and getting them having more power and say at the table is important. Direct action, like directly advocating for unions, is important. Democratizing the workplace is important. Direct action, like going and working as a volunteer for feeding the homeless or a soup kitchen or any stuff like that, that is all direct action. That is all important. But many people believe that direct action only looks like starting the fucking revolution, only looks like getting to see people that they don't like in politics gunned down. We've seen those people on January 6th. We don't want to be those people. Those people are ineffective. Those people are honestly laughingstock and jokes. If we're going to have a democracy, then we need to work on keeping a democracy. So the direct action you involve yourself in needs to be bloodless. The direct action you involve yourself in needs to help people. After all, why the fuck are you involved in politics if you don't care about people? Politics is just getting involved in your society and trying to work on it and improve it. Community is existing in that society and being around people, but the work of actively trying to get that society to be honed and better and brilliant, that is politics. You want to know the other fun and just ironic thing about this? Do you know how much money is in politics? A fuck ton of money is in politics. Do you want to know why it's in politics? Because companies are scared of you. Right-wing politicians are scared of you. AIPAC would not have funneled $35 million into getting Latimer voted on against Jamal Bowman if they were not scared of people coming out as a tour de force and keeping their incumbent in. They would not have spent so much money on a primary. Nobody spends that kind of money on a local fucking primary. But AIPAC did. And while, again, that can make you fall into the doomer feeling of, no, so much money is there, and Jamal Bowman lost, and man, that just means they're going to keep on winning. No. They threw the money at the wall as hard as they did because they were terrified. And every single time you go out and canvass, every single time you get another union propped up that's keeping a CEO honest, every single time that another worker co-op comes around that's able to directly compete with the megastores, every time that we are able to get a secular shelter supporting homeless people so that a religious one that tries to indoctrinate them doesn't get the chance. Every single time we do something like that, these people get terrified and they feel like they have to shove more money at the problem. And while we may not be able to exhaust their coffers, we can get to the point where it is tactically wrong to keep shoving that money where they do. We can force them to pivot, but only if all of us are getting politically involved. It's very easy to fall into doomerism. It's very easy to feel like none of this matters and that it's going to keep on trucking along whether or not you do something. But honestly, none of that money would exist at all if these people weren't terrified of you. getting directly involved and fucking up their plans. Right-wing punditry, the Koch brother, one of them's dead, the Heritage Foundation, none of these people would be writing 900-page manifestos on how to ruin your life if they didn't think that doing so served a greater goal. So we should actively be undermining them, instead of just letting them walk all over us. In the current political climate, the way to do that, again, is to make sure that there are worker co-ops that are fighting against and directly competing against the larger stores, making sure that unions have a stronger say in democratizing the workplace, making sure that more people at the bottom level are supported so that those people feel like they can get back up on their feet and participate in democracy too, making sure that more people are involved in canvassing, phone banking, making sure that more people are involved in just getting up their fucking asses and going to the polls when the time comes. People who do not have your best interest at heart, or otherwise have given up themselves, are the ones who want you to give up too. Be the better person for your friends on the left who think that you shouldn't get involved in politics, and for the people on the right, do it to spite them. They want to take your rights away, so fuck them. Anyway, that comment from Jake on the Twitter made me want to go on this particular rant, so I figured that I would. That said, if you don't know how to get involved in any kind of direct action, there are local charities that will be able to help you. There are plenty of local orgs like the Human Rights Campaign that are always trying to get people to help with getting people assisted. There are orgs like Progressive Victory, for instance, that let you do phone banking and canvassing and do a pretty good job of it. There may be other problems with any of these places that you go to, but in terms of effective action, all of them try to do it. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough in any of these scenarios. That gets you into the doomer section as well. That gets you into inaction. Just do enough. Just do your best. Just get the people who want to take your rights away uncomfortable about the tenability of their jobs. That said, if you watch this video and it did inspire you to get up and go do something, then maybe send this video to a friend. Maybe subscribe. Maybe comment down how you felt or how you plan on getting directly involved. Or go down there and be one of the most original people in the world and call me fat. I don't know. You do whatever you want. Whatever it does, it helps the video. That said, as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, I just quickly want to give a thank you to all of my wonderful patrons who keep this show running. YouTube and Twitch are a pretty bumpy ride at the best of times, and the stability a Patreon provides me is worth more than I can say here. I'd also like to thank each and every one of my $20 and up patrons here, and they would be Red Joker, Britzkrieg, Cameron, Dren, Jemshin, Smiling DM, Poundini, Mabbity Babbity, Naomi, Isaac, Agamotto, Jordan, Ravi, Giuni, Kiratorian, Prisma, all of you, I'm not saying that part, and Starlight. And finally, thank you to everyone else that helps keep this channel alive. While you're here, why not check out another video? And thank you for watching.